We spend so much time obsessing over what we eat, right? But what if the real secret to our gut health isn't about the food itself, but when we eat it? Today, we're going to dive into this pretty radical idea that just giving our gut a break could completely transform the trillions of microbes living inside every single one of us. So let's get into it. So let me just ask you this straight up. In our world of constant snacking and late night meals, is your gut ever really getting a break? It seems like such a simple question, but the answer, well, it has some pretty profound implications for our overall health. And believe me, this isn't some small niche issue. We're talking about millions and millions of people all over the world who suffer from conditions like irritable bowel syndrome. It's a chronic disorder that really points to a fundamental problem in that delicate little ecosystem we all carry around. So first up, our stressed out guts. Because all the evidence seems to be suggesting that our modern lifestyles are putting our digestive systems under this constant, unrelenting pressure. For anyone who has IBS, it's a daily struggle. It's discomfort, it's unpredictable symptoms. And what's so incredibly frustrating is that there's no known cure. A lot of the treatments just don't offer that long-term relief because, well, they're not really getting to the root of the problem. And at the very heart of so many of these issues is this concept called dysbiosis. The best way to think about it is like this. Your gut is this bustling, vibrant rainforest, just teeming with all kinds of diverse life. Dysbiosis is what happens when that whole ecosystem gets thrown way out of balance. Some species start to overgrow, while others just dwindle away. Which brings us to our next section, a break for your biome. I mean, if our guts are so out of whack, could the solution be to just step back, to give the whole system a chance to hit the reset button? And this leads to a really fascinating shift in how we think about gut health. It stops being just about, adding a probiotic yogurt here or cutting out a certain food there. The focus is actually moving from what to when. It's all about looking at the fundamental physiology of our bodies. So this is the big question, isn't it? Could a period of fasting act kind of like a controlled burn in that rainforest? Clearing out all the overgrowth and making space for healthier, more resilient life to come back stronger? Okay, next up, inside a 10-day fast. To answer that question, we can't just guess. We need some hard data. And that brings us to this really remarkable scientific study. A team of scientists designed this incredibly rigorous, medically supervised experiment to find out exactly what happens to our gut microbiome during a prolonged fast. So here's the basic setup. They took 13 healthy men and had them do a 10-day water-only fast. Now, I have to stress this part. This is not a do-it-at-home kind of thing. They were under constant medical supervision the entire time. And throughout the whole process, the scientists were collecting blood and fecal samples to track every little change happening inside their bodies in real time. The whole experiment was meticulously planned out over 22 days. It kicked off with a 3-day baseline of just normal eating. That was followed by the 10-day complete fast. Then they had a very careful 4-day refeeding period, and finally a 5-day recovery where they went back to their regular diet. This structure was brilliant because it let the scientists see not just what fasting did, but also how the gut bounced back afterwards. Which brings us to the results in Section 4, the microbiome makeover. So what did they actually find? Well, it wasn't just a minor tweak. It was more like a complete renovation of the entire gut ecosystem. Okay, I know this slide looks a little complex, but it tells a really simple and powerful story. It's a heat map. Just think of the blue areas as the bacteria that need a constant buffet of food. They pretty much disappear during the fast. But then look at the red areas. Those show a totally different group of bacteria that started to flourish, ones that could adapt and survive without food coming in. It was a total reorganization. But here's the key thing. This wasn't just chaos. Even though the overall number of different species temporarily went down, the community wasn't collapsing. Nope. It was adapting. It was specializing for this new normal, an environment without a constant flood of food from the outside. And this diagram, wow, it illustrates that adaptation perfectly. If you look at those network maps, you'll see that during the fast, that's the one labeled CF, the connections between the remaining bacteria actually became denser, more robust. It's like a chaotic general workforce being replaced by a smaller, highly specialized construction crew that works together perfectly. The system actually got stronger, not weaker. And in this big remodel, one particular microbe really emerged as the star of the show. It's a bacterium called Ruthinobacterium lactidiformans. It absolutely thrived in the fasting environment. So, what's the big takeaway from all these charts? It's this. This fasting-friendly bacterium wasn't just hanging around. It was actively producing beneficial stuff. Its growth was directly linked to a spike in a compound called indolactic acid, or ILA. And here's why that is so cool. In a totally separate experiment, giving ILA to mice actually helped protect them from diet-induced obesity. This tells us the changes happening during a fast aren't just random. They produce real, tangible, protective benefits. Okay, last section, why timing matters. This study gives us an incredible window into the how, but now let's kind of zoom out and understand the bigger picture of why giving our gut that break is so important in the first place. It turns out giving your gut a rest triggers this whole cascade of renewal processes. It kicks up something called autophagy, which is basically your body's cellular recycling program, clearing out all the old junk. It improves gut motility, those natural housekeeping waves that sweep your intestines clean, and it dials down inflammation, essentially telling your whole system to just calm down. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. A 10-day water-only fast? That's pretty extreme. And you're right. But the really good news is you don't necessarily have to go to those links to see some of these benefits. Other studies are finding similar positive results with much more manageable fasting routines. For example, there was this one 8-week study that combined intermittent fasting with something called protein pacing. And the people in that study saw a huge reduction in their gut symptoms, an increase in beneficial bacteria, and overall improvements in their metabolic health, including how well their bodies were burning fat. Pretty amazing, right? So it all comes back to this one really powerful idea. If we stop thinking of our gut as just a tube for food and start treating it like the complex, living ecosystem it is, then the question becomes so clear. What incredible potential for renewal, for resilience, might we unlock if we just, finally, give it the chance to rest?